Welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. I'm Super Addy B, or you can just call me Adam. Um, I'm undecided on that myself. Um, Hi, got my little co-host here. What's up? Um, and yeah, decided to try to do another Deep Thoughts episode here. It's been a while since the first one. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling the greatest today. Having some tum troubles. Got my Pepto Bismol. That's the first time I've ever drank that stuff in my life. That's how serious it got. I thought I was, impregnated with the Satan's son or something. Like last night and this morning, man. Oh, I don't know, just a horrible pain. I've been eating like trash lately, though, so that's mostly just what it is. I just eat like trash, and it's gonna kill me one day. um, Got good old coffee here. I'll try not to be annoying with that. I'm drinking a dark Guatemalan, fine Arabica. I should do coffee reviews too every episode. I'll drink a different coffee every time. That's stupid. Um, but it's probably more interesting than the topic that we're going to be covering today. It's a very boring topic. It's not interesting at all. Um, it's not fun to talk about. It's not fun to learn about. But nonetheless, it's something that I um, am really interested in. Very fascinated by it, and I would even dare say it's become an important aspect of my life these last few years. Yeah. Um, Today, of course, we're talking about nostalgia. It's a cool word, at least. All right. Um, yeah, I became very familiar with this word and the feeling that accompanies it quite well these last few years, um, as I find myself often in lofty memories, daydreaming um, about old memories and stuff, or just I don't know, reliving the past in a sense, or trying to escape to the past in a sense. I don't know. These are all things that I'm going to be talking about today, and like I said, it's very I don't know. I guess it's personable to me. I tried to do a little research on it as well, which made it really feel like a school project to me. And that's not what I want this to be. But I also do feel like I need to be a little more knowledgeable on the subject, if I'm going to talk about it. And something like nostalgia is something that's, I don't know. It's I mean, it's studied. I don't know if I want to say it's scientific, but there's a lot of studies on it. Actually, I found, and it has a lot of physiological and psychological effects on human beings, and it's got a past to it, and so we'll talk about a little bit of that stuff. Um, so where to begin? I guess this is going to be a really bad one. I hope everyone knows this is going to be the worst one ever. I've got a lot of like other good topics planned that I want to do after this, so we're just gonna get this trash one out of the way, and let's make it as bad as possible. Nostalgia. I'm trying not to burp because oh lordy, I might be taking shots of Pepto. The coffee's probably not helping either. But nostalgia. It comes from um, Greek, like most things in our Western culture, civilization. Um, it comes from Greek words, two Greek words. I believe no, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Excuse me. Comes from nostos, algos, and um, I guess nostos means homecoming, and algos is like pain or ache. And the reasoning for this was because I guess soldiers, um, for some reason when they were off in war and killing strangers they've never met before for reasons for whatever, all those Roman wars and stuff like that, and Greek wars, so many wars. I remember reading specifically though about like the Spanish wars, but even as far as back to, like I said, like Odysseus's days, like the Iliad and the Odyssey or whatever. Um, it really comes from that, from soldiers being off to war, and you know, remembering their homeland and their families and stuff that brought them comfort. Thinking about those things, but also a pain to it, where people, I guess, I don't know. It was such a huge issue with soldiers that it was actually like a diagnosis, when people would get this aching for home, and to the point where they thought they needed to be treated for it, and it affected them in war and stuff. And so that's I guess the gist of where it comes from, and which makes sense when you think about it, and how I think about nostalgia and how I use it in certain ways. um, that it just has to do with, I don't know, remembering things, having a memory of something, and it triggering the feeling of, I don't know, being there during that memory. Like lots of things that trigger it, like music, certain songs, um, certain smells can trigger nostalgia, and that's something that happens to me quite often for some reason. Um, Things like that. So yeah, there's been even like lots of studies on it. That's like, I guess that's a little bit of the history of it. There's been lots of studies on it though too, and or I guess I could talk about a little bit how they used to treat it as well. Um, I have that here. They would even try to cure nostalgia when they diagnosed you with it. They would try to treat it with like old, real old school fashion stuff. Leeches, the good stuff. Purging the stomach, and warm hypnotic emulsions. Um, I don't even know what that means. Um, but yeah, so they would, actually try to treat it like it was a medical condition. You know, I guess when it started affecting soldiers. I read this, one story of a soldier. Where was that story? I don't know. I don't know. Some Swiss soldier in some war. I don't know. In the north of England, where they noticed a soldier started, kind of just keeping to themselves. They weren't really engaged in things around them. They weren't eating very much. Um, there was a warmness or waneness that preyed on their cheeks. I'm just reading some of this stuff that I read about when researching nostalgia. That they try to treat him with like wine and other medicines and stuff like that. Like they knew something was up with him, but there was just like no fix for it. Um, I thought it was interesting too. It said that he had the soldier had a giddiness in his head. Um, kind of furthering on how nostalgia, it can make you feel warm and comforted, too. It's not just a feeling of, you know, wanting to go back to something or just yearning for something. It can really provide us some comfort. As I've read some studies about it too, that actually like I don't know if I could find it again, but I read a study that put people in certain temperatures in a room, and have them recount certain nostalgic memories and then try to guess the temperature. And the people who like really felt nostalgia guessed the temperatures to be like warmer than what they were. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Stuff like that. There's been studies on how it affects the brain, and again, I was just taking a lot of the stuff from just the Wikipedia page. How it can give you a more positive outlook on yourself, or more of an awareness about yourself. Um, can increase your sense of social support, improve your mood, all these different interesting things that I didn't know. Nostalgia really had that much of an effect on us, and it made it kind of seem a little more important. Kind of like it's a reaction in our brains that happens for a very specific reason. Um, Another one was interesting in some study where they found that it correlates to one's sense of meaning of life. I'm going to talk about my experiences with nostalgia, and that's one that I wonder how my nostalgia connects to that feeling, because I've definitely had that feeling of the importance of life these last couple of years, for I'm sure various different reasons. But like I said, hi, nostalgia has been an important one in my life. This is such a trash episode. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Um, let's see what else. What else did I read about it? A lot of things associated with like melancholia, which is another mental illness I'm interested in. It's basically depression, or what they used to call depression. Um, Hundreds of years ago during like the Renaissance and such. Um, Melancholia was a really I don't know if I want to use the word distracting, almost debilitating mental illness, as we see today. And we acknowledge that depression is debilitating, and can really impact your life and those around you. And it was looked at back then as well. Artists and such you know painted it. Of course, there's a famous Melancholia picture by Albert Dürer, I think. Um, that just shows somebody who's just so like they can't see all of the. If I remember the picture correctly, they can't see all the amazing things that are happening outside or around them. They're just stuck in their just little dark room or something because they're experiencing what they're experiencing, and that's all you feel at that moment, no matter what's going on around you. Um, and nostalgia seems like a very important. I mean, can't. I wouldn't want to call it a mental illness, of course, because nostalgia has such a almost different meaning in today's age and culture, especially when you'd apply it to just like I've seen I've I've seen I can't account for past generations. Well, you can through some historical events and such. How nostalgia affected cultures. You know, before this one, but in the way that I've seen nostalgia affect our culture is to see how people look back on like the 90s and stuff like that, like the whole 90s kid thing. Like it, I don't know, I just felt like that got really big, towards the end of high school for me, and everyone was just like 90s, yeah man. Everyone had Courage the Cowardly Dog shirts and Rugrat shirts. um Only 90s kids know, man. That's our culture. That's honestly that's our culture. Reflecting back on or going through a nostalgic experience or phase, almost like a mini renaissance of sorts, because the Renaissance was just one gigantic storm of nostalgia, where it was just people constantly reflecting back on the people before them and the things that they did before them, and also a yearning to be back during that time, because we always have this or a lot of people, and I have felt this way a lot too, we have this thing where we think our lives or our world is the boring one, and we're like, oh man, why couldn't we have lived back in that time? Um, when I got really into like medieval and fantasy like games and books and stuff, I was like, man, why couldn't I have lived during that time, bro? You know, the the bubonic plague and stuff, man, that'd be so dope. No, but that's another thing about nostalgia, though. We look at those things, or they're romanticized in a way over time. Um, but through with nostalgia, sometimes we kind of make things seem better than what they really were, make things sound better than what they really were. But yeah, the Renaissance, was just a bunch of people, kind of wanting to live back during the Greek times, and rediscovering the works of Plato and and all that, and kind of it kind of got exerted into all this creative energy that created all this art that we know today, all these paintings and sculptures and such. So it really is like a real powerful thing, and like I said, it almost seems like it's important to human beings to experience nostalgia. Um, I could talk about, I guess, how why am I so fascinated with nostalgia, and why am I so interested in it? Why did I even pick this as like a topic to talk about? We have 15 minutes of absolute garbage trash right now. Um, I'm sure I haven't taught a single thing or talked about a single interesting thing, but but you know, but let's get into why I even picked it as a topic, because it's something I really like. Um, Again, kind of going back on like romanticizing and looking at things maybe more fondly than what they really were. Um, I often find myself just either, like I said, just either a memory's randomly triggered by something, by like a smell or a sound, or not a sound really, but a song, um, or a certain TV show or something like that. Um, it triggers these memories that almost always feel good and warm to me. All these memories that I've had as a kid, and this also comes along with just me being blessed with a good childhood, and even if I might look at things in more through rose-colored glasses today, I can still say I had a good childhood, better than most people, and maybe that's why I look so fondly back at like my childhood. But um, I really, all these memories get triggered, and I really do find myself kind of back then, in my old house as a kid or something, or in my old bedroom, and that feeling is it's only gotten stronger and stronger over the years, and more impactful and kind of powerful. Uh, when I feel these feelings, it just feels good, I guess. I like it, and like I said, it's either randomly triggered or by an outside sense, or honestly, like I just have random memories pop into my head at the most random times. I don't think anything really triggers it. Um, it's all I almost relate it to like dreams in a way, because that's what it feels like. It feels very dream-like when I find myself in one of these like nostalgic memories. A nostalgia trip, as I say. It does feel like really dreamlike, to the point where I have to like even question, like, did that really even happen? Like, it feels like it did, because I'll have memories of dreams. I didn't have the light on. I'll have memories of dreams. This is the worst episode ever, and it's only episode 2. Um, I'll have memories of dreams that I've had before that gives me invokes a feeling of nostalgia for a dream, and then I also again have to question it, like, did I even have that dream ever? But there are certain dreams. I'll commit to calling them real dreams that I've had, because I've had the memories of them over and over again throughout my whole life. Some of them very, very long time ago, to where I remember even like in those dreams, me being in third person in those dreams, and me being a little kid in those dreams. I don't know, random things trigger those memories of those dreams, and kind of take me back, but it's kind of the same feeling. Um, there's always, there's certain seasons that trigger nostalgia in me hardcore, like the Christmas season, and that's a big one with a lot of people. I've read about, which makes sense. That's some of people's happier times, especially when it comes to childhood. If you had a good childhood where you got lots of presents bought for you and stuff, or at least your family made it a thing to celebrate Christmas. It doesn't have to be about getting lots of presents, but you might just have memories of that's when your grandma came over, and cooked food and stuff. And so around the holiday seasons, I definitely feel a strong sense of nostalgia. And whereas most of my nostalgia does feel warm and comforting, I would say more recently, and especially around the holiday season, nostalgia has turned more into an aching or a yearning for the to be in the past. I can't quite. And I'm kind of all over the place here, but I can't quite pinpoint when exactly I became really aware of my nostalgia. A little bit I can. It really got started a lot towards the end of high school, and I got really into old video games again. Old video games, first starting with old video games that I just hadn't played since I was a kid. And I started watching YouTube videos of them, and watching those YouTube videos of people playing these old video games I played just took me back to playing those games, man, and it made me want to get back into them and replay those games. And so when I was like 17, 18 years old, and to this day, I mean, it still carries on to this day, I've been on a huge old retro video game kick. Um, to where not only did I go back and play the games I already played, but I go back and play old video games I've never played before. I could pick up a brand, or I could pick up an old Super Nintendo video game. I had never played it before in my life. 16-bit graphics, the whole deal. That's people would say look like just old crappy video games, and play it for the first time right now at 26 years old in 2020 and have an absolute blast with it. There's plenty of games where that's happened with me. And video games has got to be another topic because I can talk about that for a long time. But so ever since then, I feel like, I don't know. I really just found myself in these, again, like nostalgia trips and memory holes, and triggering all these things from my past, through, like I said, through video games and such. And man, ever since, like I said, it's become such a stronger and stronger thing. To now, I believe I use nostalgia as more as an escape mechanism than anything else now. Um, Now that I've gotten older, like I said, a lot of this nostalgia for like a Christmas season, or the summer too as well. I have very strong summer nostalgia. When I go outside and that sun hits me, man, I'm instantly taken back to when I was a little kid going outside and just having the whole day to play, or going across the street to play at my friend's house, and just, man, nothing to do for 2 or 3 straight months or whatever, and uh, and that invokes a real good feeling of warmth and such, and it makes me really happy to remember those things. But now, as I've gotten older, I can definitely say it's more has is gone towards my nostalgia has gone towards more the yearning side. Now, when I think about those memories as a kid in the summer, or during Christmas time, I really wish, man, I could just turn that wheel of time back. I really wish I could be there, because there really is this feeling of kind of being there, and you're kind of getting like this taste of reliving a memory when this nostalgia hits. At least for me, in my experience. Um, and it feels like you're getting this little taste, and it's like, oh come on, just give me the full thing, just give me the full thing, just take my whole soul back there, just let me relive that whole day, like how awesome would that be if we could just relive a whole day of our past or something, like a really fun day or something that we had. That'd be so dope. Elon Musk, get on it, boy. Wasting your time with all this space crap. Um, and oh gosh, I'm brain farting. Zupakawa. But yeah, it really, it gives you just like a little taste of it to where you feel like you want more. That's what it is to me. And one of the things that I can relate that to in my personal experience with my personal past, and I'm not using this deep thoughts thing to spill my beans, spill your beans, lad, spill my beans. Um, and use it as my therapy sessions or something like that. But I do want to be, um, you know, as honest as I can be, it totally upfront about things, and I can relate nostalgia to drugs almost, because I have been addicted to drugs before. I mean, once you're addicted, you're always addicted. I've been clean from those drugs for several years, but when I used to, what used to keep me relapsing on those drugs in the past would be thoughts and memories and thinking about that drug. And I learned, because when I would think about taking this, like a drug or something, that I was trying to quit, you know, and I would start craving that drug, I would think about the good memories, of course, that I've had on that drug and how good it felt and what a great time I had and stuff. And it would just build the cravings up more and more to where it almost would feel like, this is how bad my cravings for certain drugs would get. It would almost feel like I took that drug and I was waiting for it to kick in. Like I was getting close to peaking, close to that dopamine rush, pushing out of me into my prefrontal lobes and synapse. You know, I would get the sweats. I would literally feel like I was getting about to get high on something, but it wouldn't happen. And I looked that up, and that's real drug, addiction. That's real drug cravings. When you crave drugs, your brain is actually able to recreate the feeling of that drug. It's the same thing, when I learned about a long time ago in high school, like in psychology class, that you can make yourself sick just by like really feeling sick and thinking you feel sick. Or you can make yourself taste certain tastes if you really think of the memory of the taste. And I used to do that as a kid too, man. I used to freaking think of the taste of ice cream sandwiches whenever I wanted an ice cream sandwich when I was a kid. And I would swear I'd be able to taste it. I swear, if you knew me as a kid, you would think I was licking TVs and eating paint chips. I wasn't, not that I remember. But yeah. So nostalgia to me has become almost like a drug or a coping mechanism. I find myself to fall under the spell of nostalgia the most when I'm at places I don't want to be. I find myself becoming nostalgic for, wanting to go home or be with my family when I'm at work. Am I saying work is like being at war? No, of course not. But what I'm saying is, obviously being at work is a either some like stressful moment or some negative space that I seek to escape, and I do it through memories. And that's fascinating. That's interesting, dude. And I'm only speaking from my own experience. Like I said, I tried to dribble out a little bit of, what I've read about nostalgia, because the fact that, for one, it's such an old thing, just like every condition, really. I mean, every condition showed up probably at the beginning of time. We just didn't know what it was or how to treat it. Yeah, it's such an old thing, but, and people tried to figure it out, back then, and maybe didn't go about it the best ways with the, how they thought it was such a manic, mental, crazy disorder or whatever, in a way, that they needed to just, treat with horrible things. I got cats. I got babies. I got cat babies running around here. I got everything. Okay, try to finish this up. Um, but it is something that like I said, has not only become more relevant in my life or something that I think about more, but I just reading some of these studies and stuff. It seems like it's a topic that people are getting more interested in. So which is awesome, which is good, and I hope people continue to look at nostalgia and what it is, and the, all the effects it has on our brain, and maybe why we even experience it in the first place, and maybe there is a purpose for it. Um, Maybe it is to escape certain stressful moments. Maybe it is to I don't know, just to I don't know, just to keep memories in your head in general. Memory is very important, and it's obviously important to I don't know, to remember things. But I'm just saying, like I feel like I feel like nostalgia is an important, what I want to say, mechanism in our brain, and and I hope people continue to study it and everything. But I will, of course, I'll keep aware of it in my own life, and how it affects me, and like I said, just having a little introspection of it. That's what also, having these deep thoughts discussions help me, kind of suss out my own thoughts and feelings about certain things. And I really, like I said, wanted to do one about nostalgia, because it's something I think about a lot, and I'm going to continue to think about it, and see how it affects me. And I don't know, man. And that's that. But yeah, it's interesting to see how nostalgia impacts us. I'm not going to keep beating this dead horse. I guess that's all I really had. This is the trashiest podcast episode of all time. I don't even want to call it that. But you got to take your shots, people. You got to take your opportunities. This is the only time I could find where I could sit down for a half hour and I'm still getting, you know, bothered and stuff. But definitely plan on doing more of these. I got some good topics planned ahead. Uh, I got a new mic on the way, a good mic, so I'll be able to ditch this thing, and hopefully a real good webcam on the way, and I'm gonna keep doing this though. So yeah, that's been another episode of Deep Thoughts, everyone. I have a cat behind me. Okay, bye.
This is such a disaster.